Ahoy everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are breaking down the newly released Developer Journal number 29 for November. This update gives us a fascinating deep dive into a new ship with a mysterious history, as well as a significant progress report on the team's performance capture technology. But first, the developers started off with a massive milestone and a huge thank you to the community. As of this month, Ahoy has officially crossed the 100,000 wishlist mark on Steam. The team expressed their gratitude, stating they never anticipated this level of interest. It's a huge achievement for the project, so if you are one of those 100,000 captains, give yourself a pat on the back, you are helping steer this ship. The Antigua Squadron. Join my disciplined, organised naval unit for Ahoy. Founded in 2025, our mission is simple, to create a welcoming, serious, fun environment where teamwork and strategic improvement come first. We seek dedicated, team-first captains committed to competitive naval gaming and inclusivity. Help us build a successful and approachable squadron. Are you ready to serve? There are a few core requirements. You must be 16 years or older, and we require commitment to at least 2 events per month upon the game's release. Apply via Discord today or head to our website www.theantiguasquadron.co.uk. Now on to the video. Part 1. Die Brack. Now let's get into the meat of the update, the reveal of the new ship they've been teasing for the last 2 months. For those of you who have been guessing the identity of the mysterious ship, the answer is finally here, introducing Die Brack. The developers describe this vessel as an nautical whodunit, a ship whose origins are so contested that historians still can't agree on where the ship came from. Variously spelled in different ways, but translates loosely to beagle in Dutch. So what is the mystery? Well, there are 3 main theories about where this ship actually came from, and the journal breaks them down beautifully. Theory 1 comes from the naval historian Howard I. Chappell, who believed Die Brack was a Dutch-designed cutter built specifically for the Rotterdam Admiralty in the early 1780s. However, archaeological evidence from the wreck site contradicts this. The ship's bell was found bearing the inscription La Patrouille 1781, which is decidedly not Dutch. Furthermore, no construction records for her have ever been found in the Dutch archives. Theory 2, proposed in 1964 by Commander Van Dulm of the Dutch Ministry of Defence, suggests she was simply purchased by the Dutch Admiralty rather than built by them. This explains the non-Dutch timber in her hull, but it raises the question, purchased from who? Theory 3 is perhaps the most compelling. It suggests Die Brack was originally an English-built cutter, captured by the French, named Le Patrouille, and then sold to the Dutch. However, the French navalists have no record of a cutter by that name, which implies she might have been a privateer operating out of Dunkirk or St. Malo, with paperwork that has been lost to time. Regardless of her birth, we know the facts of her service. By 1784, she was sailing under Dutch colours in the Mediterranean. Later in 1794, while she was sheltering in Falmouth, England, Britain declared war on the Dutch Batavian Republic. Overnight, Die Brack found herself trapped in an enemy port and was seized by the Royal Navy. Her British captors noted that her massive cutter rig was dangerous and required a huge crew to man. Too expensive for the Royal Navy, so as was common, they re-rigged her as a brig. Sadly, her story ends in tragedy. In 1798, off the coast of Delaware, a sudden squall struck the vessel while her captain, James Drew, was below decks. The gust filled her newly unfurled canvas, she heeled sharply, water rushed into her open hatches, and she capsized. Captain Drew and 35 crew members were lost. So how is she represented in Ahoy? The developers have chosen a hybrid approach. The in-game Die Brack is depicted as a brig, reflecting her British rebuild, but it incorporates significant Dutch and French channel characteristics drawn from archaeological remains. But there is one final twist. The team hasn't settled on an Ahoy name for her yet. Just like her history, her identity is elusive. Kickstarter supporters are currently voting on a short list of names, with a final community-wide vote coming in December. And a cool detail to note, Die Brack features a deployable awning. The devs mentioned this is a new detail they are rolling out to other ships to better represent the hot Caribbean climate. Part 2 Performance Capture Update. Moving on from ships to the crew that sails them. The journal provides a significant update on performance capture. The team has been building out their own in-house motion capture space, a massive undertaking that allows them to capture, polish, and implement high-quality animations without relying on renting outside studios. They shared a video demonstrating this tech in action, showing how they are translating real human movement into the game. The developers emphasised that while this is a huge investment of time, it pays dividends by giving them total independence. This means better animations for our sailors, officers, and the world of Ahoy in general. It's a huge step forward for a team of this size, and they once again thanked the Kickstarter backers for making this in-house capability possible. The link is in the description for the video. Part 3 Community Questions and Answers. To close out the journal, the developers answered some burning questions from the community. Let's get through them. On Bumblebee's firepower. If a Bumblebee enters combat, will the only weapons be volley fire from the crew, or will it at least have a swivel gun? Bumblebee's armament is an interesting question, and sets the tone for many of the smaller ships in Ahoy's fleet. The truth is that this sits well within the bounds of game balancing. Bumblebee, being the smallest ship in the fleet, is likely always going to be the underdog in any combat scenario. However, we do hear from people who want to see her armed with at least the basics in order to hold her ground a little better. Our current plan would be to trial Bumblebees with swivels as a method of testing her resolve in combat with relatively larger ships. We may determine that swivels are too much or too little for her at a later time, but her primary role as a small merchant vessel is certainly solidified, regardless of her future firepower. On programming, how goes the game's coding? What have you found challenging, and how have you resolved these challenges? It goes well. As anyone who has followed the project for a while will know, the largest challenge we've discussed has been the complexities of ship rigging and how to properly represent this within Ahoy. At first, the plan was to follow the path set out by other games in this genre, but we felt compelled to make our rigging implementation a step further. Through both the challenges of understanding the real terminology to building the necessary internal tools and the in-game representation, this has been the largest challenge of the project thus far. We're pleased to be on the other side of that challenge now, and will be sharing the results of our efforts in that area quite soon. On VoIP. Will the game have proximity VoIP? Ahoy will feature proximity chat from the very beginning. We feel that being able to communicate with your crew without needing third-party software is essential, and we do hope people make use of it. On gameplay loops. What would be the core gameplay loops on the different stages of game dev? For Sea Trials, the main loop is simply what you make of it. The idea behind the Sea Trials is to provide you with a sandbox to sail in and test out the first ships of Ahoy. There will of course be the Regatta race mode, added in an update shortly after the initial release, but outside of this, the intention is to have very little impact on your ability to do what you like. The region will be limited, but what you do within it will be up to you. For Arena, the game loop will be to jump into battles within one of many different battle maps. Each map will represent the opportunity for unique tactics, and the variable wind and weather will impact the overall scope of the battle further. Each battle mode will determine the win conditions, but the idea will be that after each battle, you'll review the results and jump into another engagement right after. For the open world, we bring the two together, the freedom of choice present in Sea Trials and the intense combat of Arena, but within a much larger environment and with more of everything added on top. The core loop here is really what you want it to be. A trade mission will be different to one ordered by a navy, and the life of a privateer would be different from that of a merchant. Fitting the open world into a single game loop ends up limiting that feeling of freedom and discovery that we hope we'll be able to capture. On wider progress, I know you are all working hard on modelling, sound design, logistics etc. for Ahoy. I was wondering when development for gameplay mechanics such as maps, player interactions, game modes, environment, sailing mechanics and etc. will begin, or if that has already. Work has certainly begun. We've been working on the systems for a long time now. and we've made huge strides in recent months on the question of maps, player interaction and sailing. We really feel that it's best to showcase this work as a package, rather than as a disparate elements, so this is why much of that work has sat in the background when it comes to these journals. We do look forward to being able to share more of this with you, and we'll have journals dedicated to certain aspects of a game in the coming months. On future ship selection, what's your vision in terms of ship variety over time? What are you looking for in ships to determine whether they add something to the game or are worth implementing? Now that we have a fairly large fleet of ships already, reconstructed and ready for implementation, our choices generally begin to focus on areas that wouldn't otherwise be a priority. At first, the necessity was to broaden the types of ship, but now we can look to broaden the origin stories. Making sure we have a selection of ships from a variety of nations really broadens the representation of naval architecture within the game, and hopefully avoids us focusing on representing ships from only one or two nations more than the others. On land content. I know that the goal for Sea Trials and Arena is the sailing portion of the game, but down the line, when can we expect land gameplay? What is the vision for the dry side of the game? You'll need to wait for an upcoming journal to see more about this, but limited land gameplay will be sooner than you might anticipate. On Sea Trials. Now that development has been fully underway for a few months, how does the team feel about being able to fulfill the first deadline goal of the Sea Trials in Q1 of next year? Will there be an in-engine development video showing progress on the game? Cautiously optimistic. As always, it's important to be clear that our estimates during Kickstarter were estimates and not guarantees. We've always said that if we need more time prior to release, we'll make sure to give ourselves the necessary time. That said, we're eager to get the experience into your hands and get feedback and suggestions on what we'll be providing. At the moment, nothing has changed with our estimates. We're still aiming towards the latter half of Q1 period, but we'll know more early next year on whether or not we'll need more time. Regardless of all of that, we'll be sharing gameplay footage in the meantime so you can all see where we're at with development. It'll be worth the wait. And that wraps up Developer Journal number 29. A mysterious new brig, Dbrac, huge strides in motion capture, and confirmation that land gameplay is on the horizon. If you want to read the full journal yourself, I've linked it in the description below along with a performance capture video. Don't forget to check out the vote for Dbrac's new name on the Discord if you are a backer. What are your thoughts on this developer journal? Post your comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, fair winds and following seas.